Hello. The message showed up at 2:47 in the afternoon on a Thursday, right while I was at my desk looking over a stack of quarterly reports. I heard the little alert from my phone and figured it was just a reminder about groceries or maybe something about dinner. Instead, it was a sentence that flipped my whole day on its head. I am leaving you for someone who truly loves me. Do not try to stop me. I stared at those words for a good 10 seconds. Not because my heart dropped or because I was stunned, but because I honestly had to admire the nerve it took to send something like that. 12 years of marriage, and this was how Emily decided to end it, through a message that sounded like something out of a high school breakup. My first thought was not to call her. I did not feel any urge to run home or demand answers. What surprised me most was that I almost laughed. Emily, who could not choose a meal at a restaurant without changing her mind twice, had suddenly delivered the biggest decision of her life in one blunt message. The irony was almost artistic. I typed back two simple words, safe travels. Then I set my phone down and tried to return to the numbers in front of me, though my mind was already spinning in a different direction. Emily had always believed I was the soft one in our relationship, the guy who washed the dishes without being asked, who remembered our dates, who apologized even when I knew I had not done anything wrong. She mixed up kindness with weakness and patience with ignorance. That was her first mistake. Her second was thinking I would crumble without her. I wrapped up the workday exactly like any other. Answered emails. Sat through a conference call. Even grabbed a coffee with my coworker, Ryan, who happened to mention that the lawyer who handled his divorce was outstanding. Funny how a casual chat becomes helpful when you are actually paying attention. By 6 o'clock in the evening, I was sitting in my car in the office parking lot with my phone in my hand. But I was not calling Emily. I dialed someone who mattered far more now. Lincoln and Bradley Law Firm. How may I assist you? I need to speak with someone about starting divorce proceedings today. The woman on the phone must have picked up on the steady tone in my voice because she did not pry. She booked me for 7:30 that evening. She called it an urgent consultation. I called it perfect timing. On the drive home, I thought about the house. Technically, it belonged to both of us, but legally that was not the case. When we bought it 8 years earlier, my credit score was excellent and my income was solid. Emily's finances, let us just say the bank was not exactly impressed. Because of that, every document, the mortgage, the deed, all the official paperwork, had only my name on it. Back then she shrugged and said it did not matter because we were a team, and what is mine is yours sounded romantic. I agreed because I loved her. And then, honestly, I forgot to ever change the documents. Sometimes forgetting turns out to be the smartest thing you can do. When I got inside the house, everything was still. Her car was gone, which meant she was probably already at her new guy's place celebrating her grand exit. I poured myself a glass of whiskey and settled into my favorite chair, the one she always said threw off the balance of the living room. The quiet did not feel lonely. It felt fresh, like the air right after a thunderstorm. My phone buzzed with messages from her friends, the ones who undoubtedly knew before I did. Are you okay? We are here if you want to talk. This must be so hard for you. I deleted every message without replying. Their fake sympathy was almost insulting. At 7:25, I was sitting across from Daniel Lincoln, known around the city as one of the toughest divorce attorneys you could hire. He looked the part too, crisp suit, sharp expression, and a smile that told me someone was about to lose a lot more than they expected. So, he said as he looked over the notes I provided. She ended things by text message. The house is legally yours, and you want to act quickly. I want to act decisively, I told him. That is even better, he said, almost pleased. Here is what we will do. For the next hour, Daniel laid out a plan that was both completely legal and strangely satisfying. Rapid filing, asset protection, measures to prevent impulsive behavior from causing any trouble. He had a name for it, swift justice for the emotionally careless. The man was a craftsman. One question, he said as we wrapped up. Any chance she tries to return and fight this? I pictured Emily, who could barely send back a wrong meal without apologizing to the waiter afterward. She made her decision, I said. She announced it like she was proud of it. We will see how proud she feels once she understands what it actually costs. Daniel's smile turned predatory. This is going to be interesting. Walking back to my car, I felt something I had not felt in years, real control. Not the kind you get from organizing your day or finishing a project, but the deeper kind that comes from being prepared, informed, and ready to act. Emily thought she was writing the final chapter of our marriage. What she did not realize was that she had just handed me the pen. Friday morning came with a strange brightness, the kind that follows a major decision that finally makes sense. I woke up at 5:30 in the morning without an alarm. My mind was already ahead of me, working out the next steps. My coffee tasted better than usual. Even the news seemed less bleak. Even my reflection in the bathroom mirror looked different that morning. Sharper, more awake, like a switch inside me had finally clicked on. By 6 o'clock, I was already rolling into what Daniel Lincoln called strategic preparation. First stop was the bank. The joint account that Emily and I had kept alive for 12 years was about to become far less joint. The bank manager, a kind woman in her 50s who had handled our accounts since the day we opened them, gave me a puzzled look when I asked to transfer every dollar into my personal account. "Is everything all right? Will your wife be joining us today?" she asked. "My wife has decided to explore new interests. I am choosing financial stability," I said plainly. She nodded once and wisely skipped any further questions. Next came the credit cards. Emily had used them the night before, celebrating her new chapter at some overpriced downtown restaurant. I knew this because she posted a picture on Instagram, holding up a glass of champagne like she had won some grand prize. She even tagged the location, and her new guy's face was barely visible in the background. She was so proud of her secret life that she practically announced it to the world. Canceling her cards took 4 phone calls. Every customer service representative gave me the same sympathetic tone when I explained why. Turns out, spouse walked out via text message was a situation they had heard before. By 9 o'clock, I was back at my desk, but work did not feel like work anymore. Everything people said seemed to carry meaning now. When my manager brought up budget cuts, I paid close attention. When the human resources director walked past talking about employee retention, I listened. My radar was on. During lunch, I checked her social media again. Her Instagram story looked like a highlight reel of questionable choices. Photos from last night's romantic dinner, a picture of breakfast in bed at his apartment, and a selfie with the caption, "Finally living my true life." The comments were a study in comedy. Her friends pasted heart emojis everywhere, cheering her on. His buddies asked, "Who is the new woman?" Her family members seemed confused and nervous. But the best comment came from his ex-wife. "Good luck with that one." I took screenshots of all of it. Daniel had said that anything showing irresponsible behavior could be helpful later. Around 2 in the afternoon, my phone started blowing up. "Emily again. We need to talk. You are being immature. This concerns both of us. Answer your phone." I replied to exactly one message. "All communication must go through my attorney. His name is Daniel Lincoln at Lincoln and Bradley Law Firm. He will speak with you." The silence that followed was the sweetest quiet I had heard in years. At 4 o'clock, Daniel called with an update. "She reached out," he said. "She wants to discuss reasonable arrangements. Seems she is having a few financial issues." "What kind of issues?" I asked. "The kind that occur when every credit card is canceled and her bank balance is near zero," he replied. "There is more." I looked into her new boyfriend. Divorced last year, paying high alimony, and 3 months behind on rent. Your wife certainly has an impressive talent for choosing sinking ships. The puzzle pieces were snapping together faster than I expected. Her grand romantic adventure was turning into a financial nightmare. That evening, I sat down and changed every password I could think of: email, banking, streaming services, even the home Wi-Fi network. Each change felt like removing a weight I did not realize I was carrying. The house felt different too. Not empty, just mine. I ordered pizza from the place she always complained about, watched the game with the volume as loud as I wanted, and left my dishes in the sink without anyone sighing behind me. Small freedoms can feel like wide-open doors. Around 10 o'clock, I heard her car pull into the driveway. She still had a key, but keys were not her biggest problem anymore. The front door opened, her heels clicked across the hardwood, and she called my name with that sugary tone she used when she wanted something. She found me in the living room, reading in my favorite chair. "We need to talk," she said, standing there like she still owned the place. I looked up, taking in her outfit, designer clothes she could not afford anymore, jewelry that probably came from her new man, and makeup layered on like she was getting ready for battle. She looked like someone trying very hard to pretend. "About what?" I asked. "About us. About the situation. About acting like adults and handling this responsibly." I closed my book. "You mean about how you ended our marriage with a text message and are now dealing with the results of that choice?" Her confidence slipped for a moment. "You canceled my cards," she said. "You emptied the account." I protected my financial future from someone who announced she was no longer part of my life. That is not how marriage works. I stood up slowly, making sure she understood every word. "You are right. Marriage takes commitment, communication, and respect. You gave none of those. So we are not operating under marriage rules anymore." She opened her mouth like she wanted to fire back, but nothing came out. For the first time in 12 years, she actually had no answer. "Here is what is going to happen," I said. "You made your choice. Now you get to live with it completely." The expression that crossed her face in that moment was worth every one of the 12 years I had spent putting up with her chaos. Saturday morning arrived with the rumble of a moving truck pulling into my driveway. She was really doing it, packing up her belongings like she was starring in some dramatic love story, not stumbling through a reckless decision she had made on impulse. I watched from the kitchen window as she barked instructions at the movers. Her new boyfriend hovered beside her, jittery, like a man who suddenly realized he might have made a terrible mistake. He kept checking his phone and glancing around at the neighbors, who were openly enjoying the free show. At noon, she knocked on the door, not with her key, but like she was a visitor. That tiny change told me plenty about where her confidence was headed. "I am taking the bedroom set," she announced the moment I opened the door. "No, you are not," I said. "It was a gift from my mother." "Your mother gave us cash," she snapped. "We bought that furniture together with money from my account." Her expression twisted through disbelief, frustration, and finally a kind of staged outrage. "You cannot keep everything." "I am not keeping everything," I told her. "Take anything you brought into this marriage. Your clothes, your keepsakes, that stack of self-improvement books you never opened." Her boyfriend stepped forward then, trying to look tough. He was about my height, but softer, like a guy whose last real fight happened in middle school. "Come on, man," he said. "Maybe we can figure something out." I held his stare until he looked away. "The adults are talking," I said. Emily gripped his arm fast, pulling him back. That gesture alone showed me exactly how their relationship worked. "It is fine," she said sharply. "Let him keep his furniture. We will buy better." With what money? I wondered, but I kept that thought to myself. The movers needed 3 full hours. 3 hours of watching her pack up the life she had thrown away in a single text message. Her friends showed up too, the same ones who sent me those fake sympathy texts earlier. They could not even look me in the eyes. Probably for the best. By 3 o'clock, she was gone. The house sounded different afterward. Empty in a good way, open, honest, like the walls could finally breathe. Sunday, I reclaimed the place. I rearranged rooms that had always felt cramped by her taste. The living room finally made sense without all those decorative pillows nobody ever used. The kitchen looked cleaner without her collection of gadgets that had only been used once for some Pinterest recipe experiment. It felt like I was taking back territory. Monday morning kicked off the next phase, official paperwork. Daniel recommended hiring a professional process server, a woman who looked like she spent weekends reading mystery novels but moved with the precision of a predator. He told me she would head over to Emily's boyfriend's apartment around noon. "Serving papers in public hits harder," he said. "More witnesses. More impact." I was in a meeting with a client when Daniel called later. "Delivered successfully," he reported. She opened the door wearing a bathrobe. He was behind her asking what was going on. The neighbors got premium entertainment. "How did she react?" I asked. "Like someone who just realized consequences are real." She kept mumbling that you would not actually go through with it, while holding the papers that said otherwise. That afternoon, my phone practically caught fire. Calls, texts, voicemails from her, her friends, her mother, all of them frantic, all of them trying to mask panic behind outrage. Her mother left a voicemail that started with, "I do not know what has gotten into you, but this is not how we raised you to treat family." I deleted it without a second thought. The woman who raised her daughter to quit a marriage with a text message had a strange definition of family values. Tuesday brought the first crack in her new romance. She posted a vague Instagram story that read, "Some people do not know how to fight for what matters." No photos of him. No location tags. No living my authentic life. Nonsense. By Wednesday, the cracks had widened into fractures. Her boyfriend posted a long message on Facebook about unexpected complications and needing space to think. His friends chimed in with comments like, "Maybe reevaluate." And huge red flags, man. Huge. Thursday evening, She called me from a number I did not recognize. You are ruining my life, she said immediately. I am protecting mine, I replied. He is having second thoughts, she whispered. He says all the legal stuff is too much. A wise man, I said. Smarter than I gave him credit for. This is not funny, she snapped. I have nowhere to go. You had somewhere to go, I reminded her. You had a home, a marriage, stability. You threw it away for someone who is already backing out because things got tough. There was a long silence, nearly a full minute. When she finally spoke again, her voice was smaller, almost fragile. We can fix this, she said. We can go to counseling. That opportunity ended the moment you announced to the world that you were leaving me for someone better, I told her. Counseling happens before you make a decision public and permanent. I made a mistake, she whispered. No, I said calmly. You made a choice. A very public, very permanent choice. Now you get to live with it. She whispered, please, and that one word carried 12 years of shared history, but it was 12 years too late. My attorney will contact you about dividing assets and handling anything related to our shared property. Until then, all communication goes through him, I said. Then I hung up and blocked the number. Friday afternoon brought the most satisfying call I had heard all week. Daniel Lincoln sounded like he was trying not to laugh as he delivered the news I had been expecting. He ended things with her this morning, Daniel said. Told her the drama and the legal mess were too much for him. She is apparently searching for a place to stay, since his apartment was never meant to be long-term. Where is she now? I asked. From what my source told me, he said, she is sitting in a Starbucks downtown, calling everyone she knows, trying to find someone who will let her stay with them. The same woman who once bragged she was leaving me for someone who truly loved her was now without a home, because that great love collapsed the second it had to deal with real-life responsibility and paperwork. Justice can be poetic when it wants to be. Saturday morning rolled in with steady rain, which somehow fit the situation perfectly. I found out what was happening from her sister, who called with a tone that tried to sound caring but was clearly fueled by desperation. She has been calling everyone for help, her sister said. Mom and Dad are ignoring her calls. Smart parents, I replied. This is serious. She is talking about sleeping in her car. She should have thought about that before she blew up her life for a man who could not handle pressure. Her sister hesitated, then tried a different angle. You know, she did not truly mean what she said. She was just confused, going through something. She meant it enough to move out. Enough to post it online for the world to see. Enough to treat our marriage like it was disposable, I said. The only confusion happening now is her surprise that actions lead to consequences. After we hung up, I poured myself a cup of coffee and browsed the real estate listings. Not because I planned to move, but because I was curious. The value of my home had jumped a lot since we bought it. Her timing, like everything else about this mess, could not have been worse. Around noon, Daniel called with updates that sounded like they belonged in a dark comedy. She showed up at his apartment this morning with her suitcases, he said. Tried to talk things over. He would not even buzz her in. The doorman had to escort her out. Harsh, I said, but predictable. Oh, it gets better, he continued. She went to his workplace next, demanding to speak with him about their relationship. Security kicked her out. His coworkers definitely got a good story to tell. The same woman who left me for a man who supposedly adored her was now being treated like a problem he wanted nothing to do with. The irony was almost too perfect, it felt written. Later that afternoon, someone unexpected showed up. Her mother, standing on my porch with the expression of someone preparing for hostage negotiations. We need to discuss this as adults, she said. I invited her in. Despite everything, I had always respected her, even when I disagreed with her choices as a parent. She sat in the living room she had visited countless times, but now she studied it like she was seeing it fresh. The empty spaces where Emily's belongings used to be, the cleaner, simpler look the house had reclaimed. She made a mistake, her mother said quietly. She made a choice, I replied. A very public, very deliberate choice. She is my daughter, she said. She is scared and alone. She is an adult who announced to everyone that she was leaving her husband for another man. And now she is finally experiencing what comes after that announcement. Her mother looked around again, noticing how different the room felt. You have changed, she said. I just stopped pretending that being reasonable means putting up with unreasonable behavior. She sighed. What do you want out of all this? What is your end goal? I want to rebuild my life without someone who treats commitment like a suggestion and consequences like optional extras, I said. I want to wake up knowing the person beside me wants to be there, not because it is convenient. She left without accomplishing whatever mission she had hoped to complete. Sunday evening brought the most revealing update yet. Her former best friend called me. A woman Emily had been inseparable from since college. I figured you should know, she said. She tried to stay with me. Tried? I asked. I told her no. I have been watching this disaster for months. She has been talking about leaving you, flirting with that guy, planning this behind your back. I told her she was acting reckless, but she accused me of being jealous. And why tell me now? I asked. Because she showed up at my door last night expecting me to comfort her and give her a place to stay. She said you were being cruel for not letting her come home after her little experiment fell apart. The audacity was unbelievable. She saw her affair as an experiment, one she expected me to patiently wait out. She is burning bridges faster than she can rebuild them, her friend said. Honestly, everyone is exhausted. She drains the room. Monday brought the next wave of news. Her financial situation had fallen past funny and into genuine crisis. Daniel's investigator had dug up everything. She maxed out a credit card trying to keep up her lifestyle while staying in hotels, Daniel told me. The credit card company shut her down yesterday. She tried applying for 3 separate loans and was denied on every attempt. What about work? I asked Daniel. She quit 2 weeks ago, he said. Apparently told her employer she was chasing new opportunities and would not be needing the job anymore. The same woman who claimed I did not bring enough excitement into her life had quit her steady job to run after a man who dumped her in under 7 days. Her ability to make terrible decisions with full confidence was almost impressive. Tuesday afternoon, I received a message from a number I did not recognize. Can we meet somewhere neutral to talk? I showed it to Daniel. He laughed. Neutral territory, he said. What does she think this is, a peace conference? In her head, probably, I replied. What do you want to say back, he asked. Nothing, I said. She ended the relationship in a text message. I do not negotiate with someone who already declared they were done. Wednesday brought confirmation that her support system had officially collapsed. Another mutual friend called to report what happened. She had to leave the place she was staying, the friend said. Lasted 2 days. She kept ranting about how you ruined her life and how she is the real victim. Nobody wants to hear it anymore. Where is she now? Last I heard, she is looking at extended stay motels. The cheap ones. The woman who left me to chase a better life was now in the exact opposite position. No job, no stability, no friends willing to house her, and pricing out weekly motel rates. Her grand emotional adventure had taken her straight from a comfortable home to bargain lodging. Thursday evening, I was reviewing more paperwork for the divorce when the doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw her. But she looked different, shrunk, worn down, desperate. I opened the door, but did not invite her inside. I know I messed everything up, she said softly. That is one way to word it, I replied. I am begging for another chance. A real one. I want to fix this. You already had a real chance, I said. 12 years of them. You traded all of that for a man who could not make it 1 week with you. Her eyes filled with tears, but they looked practiced, more like a performance than a breakdown. Where am I supposed to go? She asked. That is something you should have thought about before you walked out. I closed the door and returned to the documents on my desk. Outside, her crying drifted through the quiet like someone mourning a disaster they created themselves. Eventually, the sound faded as she walked back to whatever car she was driving now. Through the window, I saw her sitting in an older sedan, rented or borrowed, maybe. She sat there staring at the house, the life, and the man she had thrown away. After almost an hour, she finally drove off into whatever future she had managed to leave herself. Friday morning arrived cold and bright, the kind of fall day that feels like a fresh start. I was eating my first peaceful breakfast in weeks when Daniel called with an update that fit the moment perfectly. She filed a counter petition yesterday, he said. Claims emotional distress, abandonment, and she is asking for half of everything. On what grounds? I asked. According to her lawyer, you were so emotionally distant and manipulative with money that she was forced to look for comfort elsewhere. They are painting you as the villain who drove her to infidelity. I nearly laughed. She says I abandoned her? She texted me that she was leaving. Exactly, Daniel said. Our answer is simple, documentation. We have her original message. We have her social media posts celebrating her new relationship. We have people who witnessed her move out voluntarily. Her story collapses the moment anyone looks at the facts. Later that afternoon, validation arrived from an unexpected direction. Her former boyfriend's ex-wife called me. "I hope you do not mind," she said. "I got your number from a mutual friend. I wanted to warn you about what you were dealing with." "I am listening." "She did the same thing to my marriage," the woman said. "She chased him while we were separating. Told him I was the problem. Pushed him into big promises. Then when she realized he could not give her the lifestyle she wanted, she bailed." "How long did that take?" 3 weeks, she said. "She goes after men who are vulnerable and then disappears as soon as they cannot support her expectations." The pattern snapped into place. I had not been her first target, just the latest one. But unlike the others, I refused to let myself play the wounded spouse. Saturday morning brought a moment that crossed every boundary. I was working in my home office when I heard voices in the backyard. I looked outside and saw her walking around my property with a man who looked like a real estate appraiser. I stepped out the back door. The air seemed to drop 10 degrees. "What exactly do you think you are doing on my property?" I asked. The appraiser looked like he wanted to disappear. The appraiser shifted uncomfortably. "Ma'am, you told me you had permission to show the house." "She lied," I said flatly. "This is my house. She does not live here anymore, and both of you are trespassing." Emily tried to stand tall, but her voice wavered. "I have rights as your wife." "You have whatever rights apply to a soon-to-be ex-wife," I said. "And none of those rights include dragging strangers onto my property without permission." The appraiser did not wait for further explanation. He gathered his clipboard, stuffed his papers into a case, and hurried toward the gate without looking back. "Smart man. You cannot keep me away from what is rightfully mine," she snapped the moment he was gone. "I am not keeping you away from anything that truly belongs to you," I said. "But this house does not fall into that category. Your name is on none of the documents, not the deed, not the mortgage, not one single form." The last layer of her composure crumbled. "You manipulated me. You kept everything in your name so you could control me." "I protected the assets I worked for," I said. "You benefited from that for 12 years. The moment you chose to walk away from those benefits, you walked away from access to them." "My lawyer says I can claim common law ownership." "Your lawyer can claim whatever helps generate billable hours," I said. "Reality is what counts in court." She stood there, jaw tightening, brain working overtime. Then she tried what she clearly believed was her winning play. "I know about your retirement accounts," she said. "Your 401,000 plan, your investments. I am entitled to half of everything earned during our marriage. You will receive exactly what the law allows after the court reviews the fact that you left the marriage for another man," I replied. Her expression cracked. "What are you talking about?" "I am talking about the laws in this state," I said. "Adultery affects asset division, especially when it is documented, openly bragged about online, and admitted in writing." The realization drained the color from her face like someone pulled a plug. Sunday delivered the next blow to whatever was left of her support system. Her sister called again, but this time she sounded tired instead of defensive. "You need to understand something," she said. "She has been bouncing between people's homes, wearing out her welcome everywhere she goes. She is angry, bitter, and getting desperate." "That is unfortunate," I said, "but not surprising." "She is talking about doing something drastic," her sister whispered. "Maybe trying to force you to take her back." "Such as what?" "I do not know exactly, but she keeps saying she is not going to let you win this." Monday morning showed me exactly what her sister meant. I came home from work and saw my front door standing wide open. Voices echoed inside. My stomach dropped. I called Daniel immediately. "She is in my house with people I have never seen before." "Call the police," he said instantly. "I am doing it right now as well." The officers arrived within minutes, and it was a good thing they did, because the scene inside was worse than anything I expected. Emily had brought a locksmith. They were halfway through installing a new lock on my front door. The senior officer looked at the deed I handed him, then at Emily, then back at the document. "Ma'am," he said, "this is not your residence. You need to leave right now." "I am his wife. I have rights." "You have the right to hire an attorney and settle any concerns through the courts," he said calmly. "You do not have the right to break into property you do not own." The locksmith packed up without a word, clearly a man who valued staying out of legal trouble. Emily tried one last dramatic appeal. "Officer, he is being vindictive. He locked me out of my own home." The officer shook his head. "According to these documents, this is his home. If you believe you have a claim, that is a matter for civil court. But right now, you need to leave." After they escorted her across the yard, I stood inside my house, scanning everything she had touched or tried to move. The desperation in the air felt almost physical. Tuesday brought the final humiliation she had earned all on her own. Daniel called that afternoon with news that sounded like the last act of a tragic opera. "She was arrested last night," he said. "For what?" I asked. "Trespassing and attempted burglary at her former boyfriend's apartment building. She tried to break into his unit through the emergency stairwell." I sat back in my chair, letting the words settle. The woman who had proudly announced she was leaving me for someone who actually loved her had sunk so low that she was now trying to break into his apartment like a desperate criminal. It would have been unbelievable if it had been anyone else. But with her, it made perfect sense. "Where is she now?" I asked Daniel. "She was released on her own recognizance," he said. "But there is a restraining order. She cannot come within 500 feet of him or his apartment complex." "What about me?" I asked. "I am filing for one today," he said. "Her behavior is escalating. You need legal protection." By Wednesday, the restraining order was approved. She was officially barred from coming within 200 feet of me or my home. The same woman who had shared my bed for over a decade was now legally prohibited from setting foot anywhere near my property. Thursday evening, her mother called. She sounded worn out and defeated. "She is moving back home with us," she said. "I am sorry it reached that point," I told her. "No," she said quietly. "You are not. And honestly, I do not blame you. I have watched everything she has done, the way she has acted, the choices she has made. This is not the woman I raised." "People change," I said. "No," she replied. "She did not change. She showed who she really was when she thought she had found something better. You are just the only one who refused to pretend otherwise." After we hung up, I sat in the calm, quiet house that her choices had left behind. Her attempts to undo the damage had only proven that I had made the right decisions. She wanted thrill and novelty, a man who would fight for her. Instead, she found a man who understood her actual value and treated her accordingly. The truth was simple. She saw our marriage as a backup plan, something she could walk away from when something better came along. I saw it as something worth protecting. Now she was learning the difference between a safety net and a foundation. One catches you when you fall. The other keeps you steady so you do not fall at all. She chose to jump. I chose not to catch her. 3 months later, the divorce became final on an ordinary Tuesday. No drama, no last-minute pleas, just a set of signatures closing a chapter she had ended a long time ago. Daniel called with the final breakdown. "You keep the house," he said. "Your retirement accounts stay untouched. She receives exactly what she brought into the marriage plus her personal belongings. Total value, about $3,000 and a used Honda Civic." The same woman who demanded half of everything walked away with an amount some people spend on a long weekend vacation. But that was the path she chose when she traded stability for excitement. That afternoon, I drove past her parents' home. Her old Honda sat in the driveway next to her father's truck, small and worn out. Through the window, I could see movement, likely her helping with dinner or watching television with her parents. 6 months earlier, she had been posting nonstop on social media about living her authentic life. Now she was 34 years old, unemployed, living with her parents, and legally banned from contacting the man she had wrecked her life for. The karma was so precise, it almost looked crafted. I did not feel triumph, more like a clean, quiet sense of closure. The kind that settles in when someone chooses their consequences and then receives exactly what they chose. By autumn, I had started dating again. Nothing serious, just coffee, dinners, conversations with women who understood that actions matter and words have weight. The difference was refreshing. My house had become what it was always supposed to be, a place for someone who appreciated it. I redecorated the living room, updated the kitchen, turned her old craft room into a real office. Every change felt like taking back a part of my life that had been paused. One October evening, I was grilling dinner when my neighbor mentioned he had seen her drive by earlier in the week. He said she slowed down in front of the house for a few minutes, staring, then drove off. "Probably just curiosity," he said. But he added that she looked older, drained, worn out. That night, I thought about the woman who had texted me that she was leaving me for someone who actually loved her. Where was that love now? Where was the excitement she had claimed she needed? Where was that authentic life she insisted she deserved? She was living in her childhood bedroom, driving a 15-year-old car, and realizing that excitement without a foundation is nothing but chaos. Meanwhile, I was living in the home I earned, surrounded by the peace I protected, building the future I had chosen to secure. The final twist came in November when Daniel forwarded me a message from her attorney. She wanted to know whether I would agree to a post-divorce reconciliation meeting to discuss mutual healing and closure. I read it twice. Then I deleted it without replying. Some people spend their whole lives searching for someone to complete them. I spent 3 months discovering that I was already whole. She thought leaving me would show me what I had lost. Instead, it showed me what I was worth. See you in the next videos. Bye.